Alright. What's up, you nerds and space pirates? It's Galactic Bounty Hunter Kitty to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Metroid series and also the upcoming release of Metroid Dread. We're playing through all the 2D Metroids. This time we are doing Metroid 2 on the original Game Boy. So I am doing this in an emulator. Unfortunately, the only way you can play this game is either on the original Game Boy or the 3DS Virtual Console. Neither of those I have a way of streaming from, short of pointing a camera at the screen, so... At the very least, I did go and throw money at Nintendo. So I just want to do a quick plot recap before we get started. So, on this universe we have a galactic federation of planets. Those planets, or that federation and their ships, are constantly being attacked by space pirates, leading to the establishment of a system of bounty hunters to try to police the areas they can't. The space pirates stole a dangerous life-sucking jellyfish life form called Metroid, took it back to their base. In order to stop the space pirates from using it as a biological weapon, the Federation hired top-notch bounty hunter Samus Aran to infiltrate their base, kill them, and get rid of all the Metroids. So, after the events of the first game, the Federation sent a research team back to the origin planet of the Metroids, planet SR-388, try to figure out what they wanted to do about the Metroid situation. That team was never heard from again. After that, they sent a military task force. Team was never heard from again. At that point, the Federation contacted Samus, was like, hey, Samus, so, okay, we need you to go to SR-388 and wipe out all of the Metroids. So yeah, doing a little bit of light species extinction tonight. So I hope everybody's ready to go on another bug hunt. Let's get started. Alright, so first thing I want to note, this is the first appearance of Samus's gunship. Yes, she does fly around in a ship shaped like her helmet. Isn't that what everybody does? This particular model has showed up in 4 different games, so it's the most common version. She's had 5 different gunships, if I'm recalling correctly. 2 of them have been destroyed on screen. The others have just sort of been quietly retired after one game. I don't know what the deal with that is. I guess bounty hunting pays very, very well. Alright, take a look at the interface down there. We've got 99 units of energy. We are starting out with 30 missiles, and there are currently 39 Metroids on the planet. If we pause, we can see which area we're in. So 39, that's either, from a gameplay standpoint, that's a lot. From like a planetary standpoint, that seems like not enough. So I think kind of possible headcanon, Samus has just been like trekking around this entire planet for weeks, wiping out thousands of the poor little critters, and we're just doing mop-up at this point. As far as abilities, we've got 2 new ones. The first, we actually have the ability to duck. So all of those critters that crawl on the floor that we couldn't kill in the first game without the wave beam, we can deal with those now. The other ability I will show you in a second. They're going to force us to use it to proceed. Aside from that, as noted, we do still have missiles, which are going to be very, very important, and we also have the ability to turn into Morph Ball. We do not currently have the bombs or... Metroid. Poor little critters, yeah. Well, in fairness, they are kind of huge jerks. Yeah, we don't have any of the other abilities we picked up in the first game. Why not? Because this is a video game based around power progression. Now, going forward, they are going to start trying to explain why Samus starts with no abilities after every game. Some of the explanations are better than others, like Metroid Prime 1, the suit gets damaged. Prime 2, her stuff's stolen by aliens. Prime 3, suit's damaged again. In Other M, her commander asks her very nice not to use like all of her explosive weapons because they're on a civilian ship. Alright, right here, it immediately looks like we can't proceed because we don't... That sure is a running animation. Yeah, she's just kind of out for a light jog. I mean, I quite like it. For this era, it's a pretty nicely detailed, walk cycle. Yeah, so to get through here, we need to use our other new ability, which is ability to jump and shoot straight down. So it will come in handy on a number of occasions. We got another passage that we can't get through without the morph ball. So you kind of be stuck here until you figured out you had that. It's more how she waves her elbows around like she's doing the waltz. I mean... Like, I don't know about everyone else, but Samus loves her dang job. Like, running around planets, shooting things, this is her jam. Otherwise, she wouldn't do it so dang often. Yeah, some of the excuses for why she loses all of her stuff are better than others. Honestly, like, 1,000 years ago, back when Flash videos were a thing, there was one kind of lampshading this where Samus got off of the gunship, was like, okay, I'm gonna set out with all of my power-ups, and then she immediately trips and all of her powers fall down a grate. Alright, right here we've got our first save point. Yep, we never have to deal with passwords ever again. At this point, in pretty much all other first-party games, Nintendo is going to shell out for battery backup. Alright, down here we have what looks like... Sorry, we had to run the target, getting it set up on the TV now. No problem, bro. We are at the very beginning of the game, just kind of introducing things. I know down here this looks like delicious blueberry pudding, but it's actually some sort of acid. And over here, this passage is full of acid. We can't go this way. That's okay, we had a second path, one over to the left, so let's go ahead and go that way. Very acid flavor, yes, very delicious. Works great as a compote. Alright, it's slowly right here because not on this screen, but I know it's coming. Okay, we got this little area up here that doesn't go anywhere. Gonna go straight downward. This down here is not blueberry flavored, it's just... I'm not quite sure what this is. It could be water, could be quicksand. Either way, it sort of impedes us if we fall into it. Right now we're stuck with the pea shooter, so trying to shoot little flying things is kind of a pain. Alright, over here, alright, we've got our first Metroid, number 1 of 39, and it's glowing. That can't be very good, so let's approach cautiously. Expired Kool-Aid, yeah. Whatever you do, definitely don't drink it. Alright, approach cautiously, and... oh, crap. Ah, stop it. So yeah, good news everyone. The Metroids have started mutating. That was our first Alpha Metroid. Bada boom, bada bing. Unfortunately, there are going to be a lot more stages in the Metroid life cycle. And immediately after we kill it, there was some sort of earthquake. Let's go try to figure out what that's about. Yeah. Great, they're evolving. Yes, yes they are, and they're going to get progressively more nasty. Because, like, being a flying, life-sucking jellyfish that can only be defeated by cold wasn't enough for them. We don't really get to learn what the heck is up with Metroids until later on in the series. Specifically the remake. So I'm gonna refrain from really talking too much about that until we get to that particular game. And conveniently back by where we killed that Metroid, we had an energy recharge station and also a missile recharge, which is new to this game and incredibly convenient. It should radically cut down on the amount of time we spend farming for energy. Oh hey, lava's gone. So yeah, this is going to be our primary gameplay loop for the rest of the game. We're going to get into a new area, we're going to kill all the Metroids there. If we don't, we're going to be unable to proceed because there's lava, and taking out every Metroid in the area will drain the lava and let us keep going downward. Why does killing Metroids cause seismic activity? Hard to say. The remake tries to explain this. For this one, it's pretty much just, oh hey, it's a video game. Don't think too much about it. Alright, if I remember, I want to try to talk about all the enemies in this game because the manual actually helpfully names all of these. Those guys are called shoot leeches. Let's see, what are you guys? These guys are called mumbos. As you can see, they just sort of fly back and forth. These are needlers. also just kind of crawl around on the floor. There's a great deal of critters in this ecosystem. They're just kind of minding their own business. Pain in the shins, yeah, definitely. Okay, so right here we have a choice of going up and down. I'm going to go up first, get a couple of items, and come back. These guys are called Garons. A manual says they live in a nest and will attack anyone that gets close. You can farm these guys for health if you need to. Interestingly, these actually won't respawn infinitely. At some point it'll give you a little noise to let you know you've cleared out the whole nest. Okay. After the first time a bounty hunter shows up and just kind of casually slaughters everything she can find, you get a little bit sensitive to them showing up again. Save point right here, and unfortunately the music in this game is kind of grating. This piece in particular, if need be, I can turn the audio down a little bit. We won't hear this particular track too often, at least. Alright. This right here is a missile door. 5 missiles will open it for us. A neat detail, I like the way the exterior of the door is damaged. Makes me think that the reason it doesn't open is because it's just damaged. Alright, so we got a Chozo statue. And here's our first upgrade, the bombs. These pretty much function identically to the way they did in the first game. You plant a bomb. If you're on top of a destructible tile, it'll blow up. If you got good timing, you can also use this as a means of propulsion. It's kind of fiddly, but you can actually climb infinitely. And Jarrett, thanks for the follow. You can also use these as weapons, but it's not generally too necessary, if only because we can duck and shoot most of the things that we'd want to bomb. And back up, heading over here. This critter's called a wall fire, and it's a kind of defense drone. One shot will take it out. Alright, now aside from that passage over the left, at this point we're basically stuck. So in order to keep going, what we're going to do is jump on top of the drone, go into Morph Ball, and just go through the wall. Alright, and we got our first energy tank. Our maximum health just increased from 99 units to 199. Getting, I believe, 5 of these going forward. There are a couple of other passages we can explore right now. I'm going to skip them and get some that's going to make our lives easier first. Okay, there's something kind of charming about how clunky this track is. Yeah. The main problem with this is just how short it is and how quickly it loops. Otherwise, yeah, it kind of has a mysterious atmosphere to it. Alright, here is our second upgrade. This is the spider bolt. This is going to be our primary means of traversal in this game. While you're in morph ball mode, hit down on the D-pad. Sprite will change to let you know it's working. While we are in spider ball mode, we are able to crawl up any wall and ceiling we can get to. It's a wee bit fiddly because the direction you have to push changes depending on what kind of wall you're on. On a vertical wall, we have to press up and down. If it's horizontal, we press left and right. It mostly becomes annoying if you're on a corner. It's a spiky ball. Yeah, the spiky ball from Starbone, yeah, it's expressly a copy of this power. There's also an equivalent of the boost ball from Metroid Prime. And anytime we find one of these Metroid husks, it's a clue that we've got another Metroid nearby. Climb up here and deal with it. Alright, and you can get these guys on screen. They won't actually attack until they're all the way on screen, so you can kind of use this to your advantage by just jumping up there, firing a missile immediately, and then activating them. At least that would help if I didn't miss. Ouch. Sadly, the combat in this game is a little fiddly, mostly because you can only aim in the four main cardinal directions. And we're going to deal with Metroids that are flying around in all directions. Eventually, you can kind of get into a rhythm where you're bouncing the Metroids away from you with missiles. They recoil, and then you just shoot them again. I will note that most of these areas we're in kind of big domed caverns. Pretty much all these areas, there is something on the ceiling if you want to go and explore. Why must you kill the jelly bean water bears? Because they keep jumping up and trying to hit me. They're actually kind of a pain to dodge, but if you'd prefer I don't kill them, I'm about to acquire something that'll make that easier. But yeah, the ceiling on this particular area actually has a health recharge and a missile recharge if we needed them. Alright, here's another locked chamber, which means more abilities. And here's our first beam upgrade, the Ice Beam. It's not going to work on these guys because they die in one hit, but as soon as we get out of this section, I will remind everybody what the Ice Beam does. First off, though, now that we have the Spider Ball, there are a bunch of missile expansions in this area, which we're going to go grab. That's number 2. This one up here we kind of can't really get to without going on the ceiling. Now there is a secret passage over here that shows us where the Spider Ball is. I think that's mostly a hint in case your first reaction was to start bombing everything. You'd probably find your way in this little passage and find that. Otherwise, it's just showing us something we already got. Now, the explosion from a bomb will knock us out of Spider Ball mode, which will send us plummeting to the ground, and since it's a pain to get up on ceilings, we want to be careful about that. So So yeah, anytime we're trying to blow through obstacles on the ceiling, I'm going to have to very carefully move away so I don't get caught in my own explosion. Okay, here's a regular enemy. Like in the first game, the ice beam is incredibly cold. It is so cold that it suspends the normal function of physics and will cause enemies to just sort of float in midair, allowing you to use them as platforms. Sorry, I killed more water bears. I'll stop after this. In the first game, like, every time you alternately shot an enemy, they would freeze and unfreeze. In this one, once they're frozen, you'll have to just let it wear off. Mostly this is an improvement because since it took so many shots in the first game to kill anything, it was very possible for you to freeze it and then get hit by it as it just rammed you. In this one, anything that you freeze is pretty much a sitting duck after that. Alright, and we are up to 75 missiles. It seems like a lot, but honestly, we are going to start going through these very quickly. Okay. There, we've very carefully left the ecosystem alone. Those guys suck. Alright, so we've collected basically everything in this chamber. Gonna top up real quick. I'm gonna double back to that passage we missed earlier. Alright, so as I noted earlier, the thing holding the ice beam and the bomb upgrades was a Chozo statue. As a reminder, the Chozo are kind of precursor race of benevolent bird people. When Samus was orphaned, they actually took her in and raised her. They're responsible for giving her the power suit. So that's why all of their random tech they have lying around is compatible with it. Okay, we got another Metroid, big surprise. Normally you have to bomb through this area. There is a secret passage, though, I think right here. Nope. Next one over. Much easier to go through here anyway, because that energy is up there. And here's our first wall of sand, which we can kind of laboriously shoot through. So yeah, the Chozo established colonies all over the galaxy. At this point in time, they've kind of died out as a species, though. If there's any remaining Chozo, they're probably in hiding. Metroid Prime 1 very strongly implies that they kind of transcended their physical forms. It's unknown if that's what happened to all the Chozo, or... Alright, here's Alpha Metroid number 3. Yeah, there's not much to these guys. Mostly you gotta kind of manage them as they're flying around. And those ones specifically take 5 missiles to kill. There's another side passage down here where we're going to run into 2 more of them. If you can, the best strategy is actually to get below them and then just shoot missiles upward. Usually that'll get you close to them so you're not trying to jump and shoot missiles. And also, for the most part, they'll just wander back into your path of fire. Alright, so something should happen any second now. Yep. Alright, there's our earthquake, which indicates that the lava has just cleared out, and we are able to go deeper in the planet. As noted, that's our basic gameplay loop. Find the next big area, kill Metroids, lava disappears, head downward. Gradually the terrain's going to change as we get deeper and deeper into the planet. The sand is going to be less annoying when we get another upgrade. Okay, once more I'm going to go through Secret Passage just because it's ever so convenient. Yeah, there are just enough of those recharge points that we generally shouldn't have to worry too much about health as long as we're not being stupid. Which I make no promises about. Dang it, spiky things. Lay off my shins, man. So, some game info. So Metroid 2 came out in North America in November of 1991, and came out in Japan and Europe in 1992. Yeah, it actually came out in America first, which is definitely an out of the usual, out of the ordinary for Nintendo, but they are going to do that a couple more times with this particular series. Up to the point where the later entries are actually going to be American-made. This, of course, was on the original black and white Game Boy. This was a black and white game. This actually came out around the time of the Super Game Boy, which was this little cool lock-in cartridge for the Super NES. You could stick Game Boy games in there and play them on your TV. It would also colorize them, mostly just by swapping out the palette. There was some games, such as this one, that actually had their own special palettes programmed into the cartridge. So you'd also get different colors if you were playing on a Game Boy Color. Ouch. The original Pokemon games didn't do that, but Pokemon Yellow specifically did. Every time you got to a new city, the palette would change. Okay, I do have a map up over here. It's because it's pretty easy to get lost in this game. Also, I am trying to go for the best ending. In an example of early fan service, the faster you get through these games, the less clothes Samus is wearing at the end. Red Blue had palette changes, but they were like full-screen palette changes. Okay, I'm misremembering then. Yeah, time for the best ending in this one is under 3 hours. On my test run, I got 2 hours, 14 minutes. So I should hopefully hit that time, even with kind of slowly being a tour guide. Okay, just trying to find my route. Let's see, okay. Okay, those guys are called Senju. Apparently they have rings on their sides that they're able to rotate. Okay, so we're in another Chozo rune, and with that, the kind of weird degrading music comes back. Sorry about that. Those stupid turrets are called Atrax. Yeah, most of the enemies we'll find in these Chozo ruins are actually little sentry drones. Those guys I think we can't actually destroy with our current loadout. Okay, so we're gonna come down here, hop in the water, and we should be able to come back into that structure from below and get into some of the stuff. I believe the remake specifies that this area is a kind of, actually a water treatment plant. This little tank that's just hanging out. Hello. Sorry, Alpha Metroids, you guys just suck at this point. So we head up what was presumably some sort of water pipe at some point. Another missile door, which means we've got some goodies inside. Hey, somebody jacked our stuff. That's okay, I know where it is. Pretty much all of these statue rooms have these little chambers underneath them. Some of them have stuff in them, some of them don't. Okay, we've got a stockpile of item balls back here. In black and white, these are all the same color. the upgraded palette, it kind of gives away what we're supposed to do here, which is bomb through these. Gonna get it. You can't stop me. Alright, we've reacquired the various suit, and now we get this nice visual upgrade. Alright, so at this point we now have what's basically going to be Samus's canonical appearance for the rest of the series. She's got the spiky knees, you got the big shoulder pauldrons that are some sort of power generators. When I post this to YouTube, I'll link to some of the concept art on there. Got another hidden missile tank right here. So, yeah, once again, Varia is a, I guess, mistranslation of the word barrier. And it decreases the amount of damage we take by 50%. That's all it does in this one, other than giving us a cool visual upgrade. Next time we see this, it's going to have a new function. Alright, so I'm going to head back and we're going to climb the structure and get a little deeper into it. Get hit, you get knocked out of spider ball form, which is... Yeah, come on, buddy. And I'm trying not to indiscriminately slaughter the wildlife, but, you know, sometimes it just... They're kind of asking for it. Hello, Metroid. Goodbye, Metroid. Blue passage is down here. Yeah, anytime you're in one of these Choza rooms, this block right here is destructible. And missile expansion, we can't get that from this direction. We're gonna have to climb up the other side of the building to get to it. Okay, there is a secret item over here to the left. I believe the way you discover that is that in order to get out of here, you're gonna have to climb on the ceiling. It means you're gonna have to climb on the wall. And you'll kind of naturally discover that. See, these guys are another kind of defense droid. They're called Autodes. Several of these drones can't be defeated with the ice beam, but that's okay. We're gonna get something new in just a moment. Alright, once again, here is our buddy, the Ice Beam. Or not the Ice Beam, the Wave Beam. Just verifying I've got something on the map. Yeah, Wave Beam fires in this nice sine wave pattern. Makes it a lot easier to take out hopping enemies. It does replace the Ice Beam, which is kind of annoying, but it's a lot easier to actually hit things with, so overall it's a straight upgrade. Let's see. Secret passage over here that I missed. Alright, you can just walk through the wall right here. I think the way you would notice this is that it's kind of demarcated by different kinds of blocks on the top and bottom. Drops straight down. Yeah, this game is not very long, so we're going to be picking up new items very, very quickly. Alright, here's our high jump boots. They do exactly what they say on the tin. Let us jump a lot higher. And be able to use these to get out of here just by climbing these little turrets on the walls. In the short term, they're going to make getting out of this stupid vertical room a lot easier. First, there's a bunch more items in here. Yeah, aside from doing the wiggly sine wave shot style, the wave beam specifically passes through walls. That's not super useful in this game, however, starting with the next game, that's actually going to become essential. Okay, dang it. I'm gonna have to double back real quick. I forgot those items aren't accessible from this half. So once more, we've got secret passage under this here Chozo room. Another missile expansion. And a second energy tank. Yeah, I know, it seems like it's passing out the missiles like candy, but we're going to need every single one of them by the end of this game. Alright, at this point I can start doubling back and climb to the top of the structure where there's going to be some more items. I'll go ahead and just spider ball up the side. Alright, so the team for this game was produced by Gunpei Yokoi, who I'm going to talk about in a minute. He also was a producer for the previous Metroid game. It was co-directed by Hiroji Kiyotake and Hiroyuki Kimura, and Makoto Takano was the designer. So Kiyotake worked on the first game where he was a character designer. He actually designed Samus. He directs a couple other games for Nintendo at this point, specifically Dr. Mario and Super Mario Land 2. After this, he actually designs Wario and goes on to work on most of the Wario games. I mean, overall, he made two of Nintendo's most enduring characters. That's a pretty good legacy, if you ask me. Kimura is listed as the... Someone can go in the ceiling or just get caught on it. Nope, Sprite just did something weird. False alarm. Okay, onward and upward. So yeah, Kimura, character designer for Super Mario Bros. 3. He directed this game. He also did Mario Clash on the Virtual Boy, which I'm sure nobody here has ever played, neither have I. Guys. This guy is just creatively called the Blob Thrower. As you can see, he shoots out little blobs. They're mildly annoying, that's about it. Sorry, leeches. I can't freeze you anymore, so I'm probably gonna have to go through you. Again, sorry about that. Yay, goodies. Alright, so... Okay, that's not supposed to happen. Alright, so this guy's name is Arachnus, even though he's not a spider. You can actually only damage him with bombs. As soon as you kill him, he drops another item. It doesn't list the name, but this is the Spring Ball. And what this does is it actually lets us jump in Morph Ball mode. This is incredibly helpful because it makes it much easier to spider ball onto things. And of course this blob thrower is right next to the other side of the passage like a jerk. Okay, so I'm going to climb down this, we're going to get another missile, then we're going to climb up the top. Okay, how do we get... There we go. And they stuck spikes on the side of the building like they don't want random wandering bounty hunters climbing around on it. What's the deal with that? So yeah, Kimura worked on Mario Clash, then he directed the Super Mario Advance titles. Those are the ones for the Game Boy Advance that are basically ports / remakes of all the earlier Mario games. At this point, he is the... apparently he's the manager of the Pikmin franchise, so he's still with Nintendo. Okay, I know where we're going. Makoto Takano, he is a designer for Nintendo. He worked on the Game & Watch series, specifically for the original Game & Watch. He did the faceplate and the packaging. He left Nintendo in 1998 after doing the art for the Pokemon Stadium games. Kind of not a lot of information about him. Wikipedia credits him as like doing the concept design for the entire Metroid series, which I couldn't really verify because the source for that is one of the Iwata Asks interviews. but they're specifically citing the Japanese version, and I went through the English interview and it doesn't mention anything about Metroid, so... So if that's true, he kind of laid out the feel for this entire series, which is a pretty feat. And lastly, I thought the composer on this one was Hip Tanaka again, but it's not. It's actually Ryoji Yoshitomi. He did the soundtrack for a couple of Nintendo games. I specifically did the original Game Boy Wars, which is a entry in what we call the Advance Wars series over here. We're going to get to luckily see that series again in 2 months when the remake of Advance Wars 1 and 2 comes out. Okay, we got another Alpha Metroid lurking in here. We're going to fight just enough alphas to kind of lure us into a state of complacency. Okay, so we got a health recharge. And I'm going to crawl back down the wall because like a dummy I missed a missile. I do not feel guilty about using a map because there's all sorts of things in this game that are in weird places. Which I get. I mean, this is only the second game in the series. They're still trying to figure out how you should, like, breadcrumb where secrets and whatnot are. If you're careful, you can basically bomb upward and then re-stick to the wall after each one. It's kind of fiddly, though. But yeah, as we progress through the series, we're actually going to see them start getting better and better at guiding the player. Of course, this tiles have respawned. Used to be annoying. Got a handful of other Metroids to deal with, and then we are done with this area. Yeah, and Yoshitomi did Game Boy Wars. He also did Super Soap 6 on the SNES, which is the pack-in title for the big... Well, light gun is probably the wrong term because it's basically like a light bazooka. Is the pack-in game for the light gun thing for the Super NES. Fun but kind of forgotten game at this point. After that, he did some of the Wario games. Other than that, he's mostly just kind of an audio supervisor, mostly working on the technical side of things. This is probably the most famous game that he did the actual composition for. Wait, what now? Remember when I said the Metroids have a big old life cycle now? Well, this is the second stage. This is a Gamma Metroid. And it just started pouring. I'll have to take your word for it. I've got the blinds tilted the other way, so I can't actually see them. So, this second evolution of the Metroid life cycle has some additional armor plating. I think you can't get them with missiles from the back or the top. And they've started shooting this weird beam of lightning at us. Other than that, they take 10 missiles to kill, but they aren't too bad, at least when we're able to fight them head-on. Don't worry, there are even more stages in the Metroid life cycle, and they're going to get even worse. So we got 2 more down here. Let's go left first. Love the wave beam just because it makes it so much easier to get through the sand. Alright, here's our second Gamma. Fortunately for him, with this nice little choke point, it makes it a lot easier to deal with him. Same general strategy. If you can manage to tag them with the first missile, they'll get bounced back, and usually you can get them to just recoil right back into the pass and just juggle them until they stop moving. Some more sand. We got one more Metroid to take care of in this area, and then I'll ramble some more as we get back to the main path. This one's just another alpha. Easy peasy. Not actually sure what this room over here is for, because I think it's a dead end. Yep. Alright, we just got the earthquake, which lets us know that the lava has cleared out, so let's go ahead and head straight to Area 3. Hello, vertical shaft. Ouch. I don't think I found any real information on Yoshitomi's approach to the soundtrack for this game. I think it's safe to say he kind of did the same thing Hip Tanaka did and just made it feel kind of oppressive. Most of the music... There are a couple other tracks in this game, but they're mostly going to be kind of that light, atmospheric sort of tone we've been getting. So yeah, Gunplay Yokoi, I wanted to give this guy his own section just because of how big of an influence he was on Nintendo's success, to the point where he's got 3 different biographies about him. Only one of those has been published in English, and I couldn't find a copy of it, so I haven't actually read any of them, unfortunately. Yeah, Gunplay Yokoi is basically the most famous hardware designer at Nintendo. Kind of joined on as a designer. His first product he did for Nintendo, basically, like, he had made this little extending toy, just kind of using the machine shop for fun. I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but if you've ever seen like a scissor lift, the way that kind of extends, it works like that. I can't think of an example, but I swear I've seen the same thing used in cartoons before. Anyway, Hiroshi Yamauchi, the Nintendo president, saw him goofing off with that and was like, okay, hey, this is neat, let's sell it, but you gotta make it a game. And he thought of good ways to make it a game, but mostly he came up with the idea of just using it to like pick up balls, and that's the game. Either way, that got dubbed the Ultra Hand, and it was apparently a very big success at Christmas that year. This is during the 70s, before Nintendo really got started doing video games. At this point, they were a toy and a card company. Nintendo actually got started in the 18th century. They made these playing cards called Hanafuda. If you want to learn how Hanafuda works, I would actually recommend playing the Yakuza games, because that's one of the various mini-games in there, so that'll actually teach you. Hate these guys. The wave beam can kill them, but everything else, like, you have to try to get around their stupid shields. So I'm just kind of verifying my path through here. We're going to go up first. Alright, so after his first success with the Ultra Hand, he made this kind of plastic rotating barrel puzzle called the 10 Billion Barrel. I saw one on eBay, but didn't really get a good idea of how it worked. He made a vacuum, and then he made a baseball throwing machine called the Ultra Machine. Very big on the word Ultra. After that, he made one of those weird love testers. I believe it's got like two heart rate sensors that you clamp onto your finger and another person, and it'll like give you a random readout and tell you how compatible the two of you are. Because it's sensing your heart rate, how much your heart rate speeds up when you see each other, blah blah blah. Okay, if we go down here, there's a missile recharge. Which, yeah, we're going to need missiles. Lots of missiles. We used 100 of them. These little robot guys are called gravits. They mostly just kind of hang around minding their own business and then pop out of the ground and rush at you. They'll just kind of go back and forth, and if they don't find anything, they'll actually go back in the ground. Okay, so I'm going to climb up the wall here, and then we are going to get an extremely useful ability. Alright, so after that, Yokoi got the idea for his next product when he saw like a bored... He was on the bullet train and he saw a bored salaryman just kind of messing with a digital calculator, just pushing the buttons on it. From that, he got the idea of trying to create a game system that basically bored salarymen could actually play on the train and whatnot. So let's get this item. Alright, this is the space jump. It is probably the single most useful item in this entire series. I will show you why as soon as we get out of this stupid sand pit. Alright, so you'll note that Samus has two different jump patterns. If you just jump straight up and then move in midair, she will just jump normally. If you're running and jump, she'll do a somersault. In the original Metroid, we needed that once we got the screw attack. So here's what the space jump does. You jump in the air, you let it come down a little bit, and you can actually jump again indefinitely. Now it's a little bit fiddly. Basically, you gotta reach the apex of your jump, let it come down a little bit, and then hit jump. If you do it too early or too late, you'll just kind of plummet. So there's kind of a rhythm you have to get used to. In later games, they make it a little bit less fiddly. But for now, though, I mean, the spider ball is still useful, but basically we can just sort of fly around these chambers absolutely unencumbered. Okay, I'm gonna go right first. Okay, there we go. Up over here, bomb through this block, and then we should be able to get a couple of goodies. So we've got an energy tank, and also a missile. I can get back out of here. There's a bunch of weird little side passages right here that don't really go anywhere. Okay, now I should be able to just space jump out of here instead of jumping on the little platform guys. Go! This right here is Trixie Sand. For some reason you can only destroy some of it. Cleared out and there's no little passage to another missile. So we got 190 missiles. I know that looks like a lot, but by the end of this game we're going to risk running out. Okay, here's our next Chozo room. And here's our new beam upgrade, the Spazer, which is a triple shot. My best guess is that Spazer stands for spread laser. It does a little bit more damage than the wave beam. Mostly it's just less unpredictable. Like, in just a minute we're actually going to get a completely different beam upgrade. Basically, the game wants you to pick between either that or the plasma beam. I'll show you both. Hello, Gamma Metroid. Okay, let me go, buddy. Okay, I hate this room. Yeah, the original Game Boy did not have a very big screen, and of course it could only display 4 colors, those being black, white, and 2 shades of gray. So in order to actually be able to distinguish things, you've got these very big detailed sprites, which, you know, are nice by themselves. But they also have the problem that the viewpoint on this game just ends up being incredibly zoomed in, so... Big, stupid, giant rooms like this are a huge pain. Okay, there's another missile up here in the ceiling. Okay, right here, you'll note that the sand continues downward to the bottom of the screen. We can actually blast through this and get to a new area. Okay, we got a husk, letting us know there's a Metroid nearby. It's actually just in this next screen. Another Gamma. We know how to deal with those. Some more of these Autodes. Here's our next door. And I mentioned there's 2 different beam upgrades here, and you can pick one of them. Here's our second one. This is the plasma beam. This is generally the most powerful weapon Samus has in this series. Just a big old F-off laser. So this does a lot more damage than the Spazer. Also, if it doesn't destroy whatever it hits, it has a piercing effect. It'll continue onward and destroy whatever else is behind it. Chat, I will leave it up to you if you want me to stick with the plasma beam or switch to the Spazer. They've both got their benefits, really. Plasma beam will kill basically anything in one shot, but the Spazer is much easier to hit things with. Alright, we got a spike-lined tube. It's got to be very careful space jumping up it. Basically, you want to let go of the jump button immediately after doing your next jump and just take very small hops. Right, these critters with their fun little flamethrowers are called Automs. As far as I know, you can't actually destroy them with anything. Okay, we have a secret passage over here. Another Metroid. Right there! Hello, Alpha. Goodbye, Alpha. And we are at 23, so a couple more and we're actually going to have wiped out half the Metroids on the planet. Making pretty good time with our whole driving a species extinct thing. Another energy tank, which is great because it'll give us a top up. I'd taken a bunch of damage getting down here. Alright, at this point, we have mostly cleared out this area. I'm going to go back, go to the junction, and then there's going to be a kind of annoying series of tubes where we're going to track down some more Metroids. So anyway, Gunboy Yokoi, he saw a Japanese salaryman just kind of futzing around with a digital calculator on the train, just out of sheer boredom. He decided he was going to make basically a digital game of some sort, so that the salaryman would have something better to do than fuss with calculators, and also so he's going to make Nintendo some more money. This eventually became what we know as the Game & Watch series. Fun little fact I learned from Retronauts. Apparently, like, Yokoi pitched the whole Game & Watch thing, but he could not get it off the ground until there was a day where Hiroshi Yamauchi's driver was apparently sick. And I guess Nintendo was a small enough company that they had to just basically pick someone who got stuck doing driving duty for the day. So basically, Yokoi realized that he's got the Nintendo president trapped in the back seat while he's driving around, so he just starts pitching him on the Game & Watch. That was enough to get the project approved, and also just as like complete serendipity. Yamauchi apparently had a meeting with one of the calculator manufacturers that evening, where he learned that they had, like, basically a huge surplus of, like, digital screens and whatnot for their calculators. So this is where they got the idea for the Game & Watch to just actually basically use calculator bits. Okay, so there is an energy replenisher up above, which we don't really need. Yeah, ironically, because the wave beam can go through things, it can kill these stupid things, but the plasma beam can't. We have to actually shoot it from the top or bottom. Yeah, so the first Game & Watch came out in 1981. If you're familiar with, like, those old Tiger Electronics LCD games, it was basically the first one of those. Basically a little slab of plastic with two buttons on it, with each one had one game for it. The first one was called Ball, where you're just kind of juggling a ball around. But why was he talking to a calculator manufacturer in the first place? Hard to say. I think this was when Nintendo was trying to get into electronics, so maybe he thought that might be some sort of in. Maybe they were just friends. Unfortunately, I don't really have more details than that. If I remember, I can try to dig in, see if this is covered in more detail elsewhere. This is just a little detail I learned about from the Retronauts 2-part episode on Gunpei Yokoi. Incidentally, if I have not chilled Retronauts enough time, it's a very long-running series on video games hosted by game journalist Jeremy Parrish. He's the guy who basically coined the term Metroidvania. Every week they just get a bunch of people on and talk about old video games. It's honestly where I've learned most of the stuff I know about old games. So I can't recommend it highly enough. Ah, dang it, missed my passage. Kind of fun thing they added in this one that I think only happens in this game is that if you get hit when you're in midair, immediately after that you can actually jump a second time. It's very useful if you get stuck in a spike pit. There's a Metroid in here, another Gamma. Let's lure him back so he can't kill us. And this isn't even their final form. Right, so, yeah. Yokoi came up with the whole Game & Watch idea. He kind of came up with the games and kind of the overall design of the system. A guy named Satoru Okada did the actual internals. If you recognize his name, he was the director of the first Metroid, while Yokoi is kind of a producer. Hello, Gamma. Okay, so we need to go through the floor right here. Yeah, I hate this area. It's just a bunch of seemingly identical tunnels. Where are you guys? These little robots are called TPO. Manual says that they might be small, but they will still do damage. That's why I'm going to wipe them out. Okay, I need to go up this passage. This webbing stuff is very annoying. The plasma beam will cut right through it. You can jump through it, but it's actually going to block missiles, so I want to clear it out. If we were using a regular beam, it would also block each shot. Hello, Alpha. Thinking, too bad it's not a Dodogama, and now I'm just imagining a bunch of little Dodogamas floating around barfing fireballs at you. I wish it was a Dodogama too. Dodogamas are at least cute. Okay, we need to get in the ceiling, so let's use Spider Ball. Gonna be one more Metroid in here, and then I'll be able to double back. Alright, it's this one. Yeah, you come in through here. This little stupid area is completely sealed off. There's no way to get to him. So what we need to do, if you've landed on top of a husk before, you'll notice you can actually sink into it. In this case, this one is actually disguising a hidden passage. Boop on through. Yeah, this is where this stupid honeycomb mosquito netting, whatever it is, becomes a pain in the butt. Gotta try and clear it out while the guy is shooting at us. Okay, let's go back. So yeah, the first Game & Watch came out in 1981. They were produced well up into the 90s, and there are all sorts of different lines because Hiroshi Muchi, he famously said that, like, basically he thought a lot of the things that Nintendo made were fads, and his rule of thumb is that a fad would only stay successful for up to 3 years. That was kind of that was his approach with consoles too. Like, the original Famicom was out for 3 years. That's when they came out with the Famicom Disk System. That's... You guys suck. Look. They're just small enough that they miss the plasma beam. Evil. So yeah, they came out with a whole bunch of different Game & Watches with all sorts of little gimmicks. Okay, right here we just gotta go straight down. I've made a note of several of the interesting ones. The first up was the vertical multi-screen series. This was actually designed as a clamshell. You'd flip it open and there would be a screen on the top and bottom. If that sounds suspiciously like a Nintendo DS, it basically is. Like, they came up with the basic idea for the DS like 20 years before it became an actual thing. That was the vertical screen series. There was, yes, also a horizontal series, which just opened up like a book. This version of the Game & Watch is also where they originally came up with the D-pad. Apparently, like, the very early Famicom prototypes were basically just using modified Game & Watches as their early controllers. After that, this was pre-Famicom, but they had the Panorama series, which is weird. Like, it has a top that you flip up, and then there's sort of an angled color display. I think it, like, reflects onto it like a mirror. They're really weird, but they're kind of big and not very portable. So, ironically, for something that started out as portable, we've got kind of primitive consoles here. At the same time, they did the Tabletop series, which... If you've seen those little tabletop arcade games before, you know what these look like. Basically just a little display with a joystick. Oh, dang it, I hate this passage. After that, they had the Microversage series. This was just kind of like a little console, and then it had 2 controllers on either side that you can remove. Does that sound suspiciously to you like a Nintendo Switch? So yeah, another piece of Nintendo hardware that was kind of originally conceived of as a Game & Watch. Yeah, obviously, the controllers on that thing are not as advanced as Joy-Cons are. They weren't wireless. But either way, you would still pull it out and give it to your friend. And then the last big variant of the Game & Watch was the... Okay. Checking my... Okay, just trying to verify where the last one is. We're at 17 Metroids. We're going to need to get down to 16 in order to unlock the next area. And then the last big Game & Watch gimmick was the Crystal version, which had a see-through LCD screen. Those they apparently didn't make a lot of, and now they're stupidly expensive. Like, couple $100 each. Okay. Metroid? No. Sorry, I'm checking my map, 'cause somewhere we have missed a Metroid, and I'm not sure where. Okay, so we would have had 26 remaining. Came into this area. 2, 6. Ah, okay, I found it. Okay, back on the right side, where those little shifting platforms were, I missed one right there. Okay, so I'm just going to need to go straight up, go through the domed area again, loop around the right side, and then we should be good. Alright, so after the Game & Watch came out is when Nintendo started getting into arcade hardware. If I'm remembering correctly, their first game was something called Radar Scope, which was basically just a Space Invaders clone. Something they kind of threw together to make money. Unfortunately for them, they made a whole bunch of cabinets, shipped them over to the United States, where Space Invaders was never really that big. So basically, by the time they had manufactured them and then got them overseas, like, the arcade distributors weren't interested. So at this point, this guy at Nintendo, you may have heard of him, his name is Shigeru Miyamoto. He came up with the idea of just, like, making a new game real quickly and then just using that to... Basically, they'd swap the boards out in the Radar Scope arcade cabinets and replace it with the new game, which hopefully would actually make some money and recoup their costs of manufacturing all these dang arcade cabinets. Okay, here we go. The guy should be down here. Screen, yeah. Another instance where I have to lower the dang thing down so I can actually shoot it. Okay, and that's 16. We are officially past the halfway point. Hooray! Alright, extinction proceeds. Okay, so Miyamoto came up with this idea to convert the Radar Scope cabinets into a new game. This one you may have also heard of. It's called Donkey Kong. Yokoi got appointed to basically kind of supervise this conversion process, as this was like Miyamoto's very first game. A very interesting fact, like, This is talked about in one of the Iwata Ask interviews. In this one, he's talking to Miyamoto, and Miyamoto at this point says that basically that Yokoi kind of tutored him in basic game design. And then he's like, well, I don't really want to get into game design at this point, so that's basically the only mention of this in that interview. So reading that, I was like, holy crap, like, Yokoi mentored Miyamoto? You know, the guy who created Mario and is basically the most important figure at Nintendo? That's really freaking neat. And there's no details on it beyond that little mention in an interview. So if one of you somehow gets access to Miyamoto and can ask him some questions, Aunt Kitty commands you to ask him about the time that Gunpei Yokoi tutored him while they were working on Donkey Kong. They worked on Donkey Kong together. Yokoi was also involved in the original Mario Brothers. Not Super Mario Brothers, it's that little one-screen version that's basically a mini-game and a bunch of other Mario Brothers games. Yokoi was apparently the person who came up with the idea that Mario should be able to fall off platforms from high heights and not take damage. There's a lot of early platformers where if you fall more than like a very tiny height, you'll just die instantly. The most infamous of them is Spelunker on the NES. So possibly Yokoi was the guy who came up with the idea that there shouldn't be fall damage in platformers, and thank goodness for that. I'll run over and save real quick. I'm not falling like an idiot. Okay, all saving, no falling. Okay, let's get the heck out of here and go to the next area. So yeah, after that, Yokoi was just kind of the head of Nintendo R&D 1, the Nintendo development team that came up with all their weird titles like Metroid. His next big project is actually the original Game Boy. Of his many titles, he's generally considered the father of the Game Boy. This is kind of... I learned recently this is kind of weirdly disputed. Like, apparently Satoru Okada, the guy who worked with him on the Game & Watch, Yokoi apparently wanted to basically create another sort of Game & Watch platform, but it would have removable games. Okada was the idea who wanted to make like a more powerful system. Yokoi just wanted it to kind of be cheap and disposable again. I guess they had an argument, and eventually Yokoi was just like, okay, do what you want. So this is brought up in an interview, which I can link on YouTube. Okada sounds kind of salty when this is brought up. Like, I don't think he's outright accusing Yokoi of stealing the credit for the Game Boy, but he also kind of is. Get more fluttery creatures here. These are called octrolls. Honestly, I'm not sure why the SR388 ecosystem has all these niches for little weird critters that float up and down. Okay, just checking my map again. This is a weird little area. There's one Metroid in here that we're going to kill, and then the asset's going to drain away again and let us access Area 5, which will be our next big chamber full of stuff. Right, so at this point, Yokoi starts advocating a philosophy he talks about in his biography. It's usually called lateral thinking with either seasoned or withered technology. I guess it translates both ways. Basically, the idea is here you want to take like old, very mature tech and just use it in interesting new ways. The best example of this is, of course, the Game Boy. Like, that thing came out in 1989. The processor it uses is a variant on an old processor called the Zilog Z80 that came out in 1976. So it was more than 10 years old at this point, which in processor time at that point was made it like 1,000 years old. It wasn't super powerful, but more importantly, it was cheap, and it was very well documented, so developers had an easy time working with it. So they put this old processor in the original Game Boy. They used a bunch of... this is where calculators come into play again. Calculator manufacturers apparently had a huge surplus of LCD screens and whatnot, so they used a bunch of those for the Game Boy. So, black and white system, not a very good processor. Contrast this with the competitors of the time. Around the time of the Game Boy, we got the Atari Lynx, and then the Sega Game Gear, which were like super technologically impressive at the time. They had pretty nice hardware. They were comparable with consoles. They had bright color screens. Honestly, though, they're technically impressive, but as far as usability goes, they suck. Like, yeah, the Game Gear had a very nice screen. It would also suck dry 6 AA batteries in a couple of hours. Whereas the Game Boy, you'd pop a couple AA's in there and you'd get at least, like, 20 hours of life out of it. Yeah, this philosophy is kind of what underscores most of Nintendo's consoles. It seems like when they deviate from it, they get themselves in trouble. Okay, that lava's not going to drain yet. We just need to double back a little bit more, and then we'll get to our next area. So yeah, the original NES was using pretty old hardware at the time. It did great. The Super NES was pretty cutting edge at the time. The Sega Genesis was a little older, but it had just... the marketing was so much better that by the end of the generation, it had caught up with the Super Nintendo. N64 was using this crazy 3D chip that had been designed by Silicon Graphics. That was vastly outsold by the PlayStation. GameCube had pretty decent tech. It didn't do that well. The Wii U basically bombed immediately. Like, Nintendo's big successes are the original Game Boy, the Wii, which was a standard definition console at the time where everybody was doing HD, but of course it had the Wiimote and Wii Sports, and just... instead of doing a traditional console, they tried to come up with something new and were rewarded massively for it. When the DS came out, everyone thought that was kind of a joke compared to the PSP, which had been announced earlier. That thing had that wonderful HD screen, easy as a media player, all sorts of stuff, which the DS couldn't really do. But the DS just had all sorts of creative games, all sorts of neat uses for the touchpad. The DS actually, I believe it sold 150 million units. At its height, I believe it got to the point where in Japan, 1 in 3 people owned one. Okay, these guys are called flits. You can actually use them as platforms. It's kind of unnecessary because we've got the space jump. If you decided to skip the space jump, this would probably come in handy, though. Sec. Okay, there are 2 passages here, and it doesn't matter which way we go. Gonna be an alpha right here. Hello, Alpha. Goodbye, Alpha. Getting close, guys. There's only 14 Metroids left. So after this, Yokoi's next big project was the Virtual Boy. If you're not familiar with that thing, it was basically sort of little standalone. It's not really a handheld, it's too big for that. You'd put it on kind of a little stand, but it actually had 3D screens. Now, Nintendo apparently loved 3D. They tried to revisit the idea at several points. There was a couple of Famicom games they put out that came with 3D glasses. This was their first big crack at it with an actual standalone console that had 3D. Fortunately, the tech wasn't really ready at this point. Like, infamously, the Virtual Boy had, like, the only color it can display is shades of red. Like, supposedly, this was picked because red is supposed to be, like, the easiest shade on your eyes. But that didn't seem to really work for the Virtual Boy because apparently the thing just gave people headaches. Now, supposedly, Yokoi, after designing the Virtual Boy, like, he wasn't happy with it and said that it wasn't ready, but Nintendo wanted to try and get a new product out and just apparently pushed it out too early. I couldn't really find any confirmation if this is true. So yeah, the Virtual Boy comes out and is basically a complete failure. I think it only sold a couple million units. At this point, Yokoi just kind of completely lost faith in Nintendo. Apparently, they were making him personally go around and demo it at trade shows. After this, in I think 95, Yokoi just decided to completely retire from Nintendo. He made a new little company called Kato, He worked with Bandai and came out with their portable, the Wonder Swan, which is pretty neat, but only ever came out in Japan. I think most people know it because it had the ports of the early Final Fantasy games on it, and also a whole bunch of Digimon games. Yokoi unfortunately never got to see it put into production. Shortly after its design, he was actually killed in a car accident in 1997. Apparently he got struck by a car on a highway. Okay, I think we're going this way. Yeah, basically went into that new area, killed 2 Metroids, and now we're backtracking again. It's hard to really say what to do with these little cul-de-sacs. Go down this way. Trying not to get lost. So yeah, Gunpei Yokoi, very interesting guy. Proposed some of Nintendo's biggest hardware successes. Supervised this very series we're playing right now. Had a couple biographies, most of which unfortunately aren't available in English, which actually called him like the father of games, which is pretty cool. Guys called it. Weird little jumping duck heads are called screeks. Can't really see it, but they've actually got little vestigial legs they can pop out of the water with. This game just has so many fun little alien designs. Some of whom are minding their own business, some of which are trying to kill us. Okay, these weird blocks only show up right here. You can't bomb them out of the way, you can't shoot them. You actually gotta displace them with missiles, at which point they blow up. They're seriously only right there. I don't know why they're in the game at all. All these weird little things make me wish that I had stuck with the spacer. More on that in a minute, though. Okay, there's Metroid in this passage. Same deal as usual, it's a gamma. shoot it with 10 Metroids, it goes down and stops bothering us. Okay, so we're gonna go down in this little pool, get another missile expansion. Okay, so this is a big vertical area. Basically, we're gonna just go up one side, collect everything, and then come down the other. Going to be a passage coming up ahead on the right. There we go. Very carefully jump through these weird spiky passages. It's strange, it's almost like they don't want us to go over here. Alright, we got a Gamma Metroid and it's glowing. Everybody get ready. Alright, here's stage 3. These guys are called Zeta Metroids, and Zeta, I guess, they suck. They kind of float around obnoxiously and shoot fireballs. At this point, they're armored at the bottom, so I can't just shoot up. Mostly we just gotta try to pin them and kill them as quickly as possible. This is really the worst possible room for this because the frickin' sand keeps respawning. Come on, dive down, shoot the fireball. There we go. Those guys, I believe, take upwards of like 25 missiles. That's why we need all those dang missiles. Yeah, I don't really have a good strategy for dealing with those damn things. Mostly just kind of trade hits and try to fire missiles as quickly as possible. Luckily, there's only a couple of them. Okay, there's a missile on the wall. I believe we access right here. Yep. And this room sucks because immediately as soon as we jump in, there's going to be a gamma. Gotta try and get to the wall where I can actually attack it. Also, trying to space jump through a screen transition is a pain in the butt. Ah. Okay, now that I've got an actual vantage point, this isn't too bad. Here we go. Okay, so we've got an energy recharge right here, which we needed desperately. And in the next room, there's actually going to be a missile. Nope. Continuing upward. Seriously, this is a big ol' ruin. Okay. Gonna climb up the spider box. I'm gonna have to bomb my way through the side anyway. Okay, there's immediately going to be another Zeta Metroid. Should be a little bit easier to deal with right here without the frickin' sand. You know the reason Anakin Skywalker hates sand so much? It's because he played this game. Ugh, there's just not a good way to get an angle on these stupid things. Okay. Now it's dead. We're gonna head up. Okay, so we are in the bottom of a Chozo item room. We have to bomb our way over to the contents. Now you'll recall there's that second brick that in every item room is destructible. Same thing here. Let's head over to the side, bomb through. Alright, if you remember this from the first game, we just got the screw attack. And with it, as long as we are somersaulting, we can kill basically enemy in a single hit. Combine this with the space jump, and Samus is now basically a flying indestructible goddess of death. Okay. Platform, let's start jumping. Those stupid things that with the shields, dead in one hit. Don't even have to be careful in getting up this tower anymore. Okay, up here is a Metroid. One of the stupid spiky rooms again. Okay, now I know you guys are wondering, well, what does the screw attack do to Metroids? Nothing as far as damage goes, it just repels them. Which, considering that none of our other abilities other than missiles can do anything to the dang things, I think that's a pretty good upgrade all around either way. Okay, I'm going to climb up to the top of this chamber, because once more there's goodies up here. At this point, I can just re-stick after each bomb without too much risk of falling down. And conveniently hiding up in the ceiling is an energy tank and another missile. I think we're up to 200 missiles at this point. I'm gonna get some more in just a second. Hooray! This room is dark. It's not too bad looking at the map. Basically, we drop down, go right. Gonna be able to climb out and get another tank. Yeah, and once again, like the first game, there are more energy tanks in the game than you are able to actually use. I believe there's 6 total, and the maximum is 5. Okay, I found the right edge of this chamber. Okay, luckily that's the only room in the entire game that's dark. Okay, so now we're gonna start going down the left side. Gonna be a passage coming up right here, side. Here we go. Okay, that's right, we go through right here. So this is a long chamber that has 4 missile doors. And behind every single door, there's going to be a beam upgrade. So over the course of the game, we have 4 different beams. The ice beam, the wave beam, the spacer, and the plasma beam. In here, you can basically pick which one you want to use. And we'll go ahead and switch back to the spacer, but you know, if you really like the wave beam or the ice beam made things easier for you, you can switch back to those as well. Or heck, if you want to do some backtracking, you can always come back to this area and switch out beams. There's not really a practical reason to do so, but the option is there. Here's another one of those spiky chambers. Gee golly, I wonder if there's a Metroid in here. No big deal, it's just another gamma. Let's see if I can get him back down here. Okay, there we go. We're getting close, guys. We are down to less than 10 Metroids left. If that was not the last gamma, it's the second to last. Okay. Ugh, I hate Zetas so much. Yeah. You can sort of get them into a pattern using the screw attack, but occasionally they'll just decide to shoot multiple fireballs in a row. Alright, there's our earthquake. We've officially completed this area. Let's climb on out. Okay, so I think lastly I just wanted to ramble about the Game Boy a little bit, since this is going to be our first and only title on the system. So yeah, the Game Boy came out in Japan on April 21st, 1989. There's not a specific date given for the North American release, but it came out later in 1989, and then in Europe in late 1990. It sold 118 million units. I want to say the NES was like 90 million. It's actually the best-selling video game console of the 20th century. It's not outdone until we get to the PS2. It's a black and white system, 4-color screen. I mean, we kind of talked about the design philosophy for it, but I think the big thing that made the Game Boy successful was the decision to include Tetris as a pack-in title. Y'all have heard of Tetris, right? I guess that game's not as big as it used to be when we had Tetris Fever, but I mean, they're still coming out with new versions of it. I think we got some sort of VR version recently, and then if we actually had Tetris 99 on the Switch. I'm very deliberately stopping and recharging all my stuff, because this is going to be the last recharge station we're going to see for a while. We've also gotten our last item pickup. We are at the maximum of 250 missiles. And I'm dead serious. We are, in fact, going to run out at some point, or at least get really close. We're going to need all the dang things. If I hadn't carefully tracked down all of them, we would probably actually run out and need to go back to that recharge station a couple times. I think the main thing that makes the Game Boy neat is just all the weird little things that came out for it. Like, because it was cheap and portable, there was like, there was actually a keyboard attachment for it at one point, and they came out with a series of, like, kind of basic productivity, like, note-taking software. There was a bunch of different, like, tourist guides to various countries. Some translation apps. There was the Game Boy camera, which was a very early digital camera, and it only shot in black and white, and also came with the Game Boy printer, which is this fun little photo printer. I believe that was actually Hip Tanaka's idea. Other neat things the Game Boy did, it came with the link cable, which you could use to connect two Game Boys together for multiplayer. I believe it was the first portable console to do that. There was a couple different iterations of the Game Boy. 1995, we got what Nintendo called the Play It Loud series, which were just Game Boys in different colors. You had a black one and a lime green one and a blue one. I think there was a pink one in that line. 96, we got the Game Boy Pocket, which was lighter, cheaper. It actually ran on two AA batteries. Actually had, I think, like a white LCD display instead of the weird, light green one that shipped with the original Game Boy. Then in 1998, there was the Game Boy Light. Okay, so we got acid over here, we need to go up. Yeah, the link cable is mainly famous because of this little game called Pokemon. Came out in 1998. At that point, the Game Boy had basically lived out most of its useful life cycle. Pokemon was actually great for the Game Boy because it gave Nintendo a couple of extra years of life, which allowed them, because the Game Boy Color was not ready yet. So if it wasn't for Pokemon, Nintendo might have been forced to rush a crappy hardware or a crappy portable to the service. Okay, hey, we got another alpha. This is our last alpha. And we got 2 husks, but only 1 Metroid. That's weird. I'm sure that doesn't mean anything. Okay, so the acid just drained, so let's go back. And okay, that's not cool. For the first time, instead of draining, we actually just got new acid. We are now trapped in this chamber. I believe we actually have to come down and physically check that out before we trigger the flag that'll let us come back and make some progress. So since we're trapped in here, I guess I will just go back up and we'll go to that room with the suspiciously missing Metroid. Okay, got a Zeta here now. Ah, crap. Alright, meet the apex of the Metroid life cycle, the Omega Metroid. These things are, ironically, probably easier to deal with than the Zetas. They'll shoot the fireball and then kind of ram you. You can mostly ward them off with the screw attack. The main thing that makes them a giant pain in the butt is that there are 4 of these guys, and they take 40 missiles each. Kind of just a battle of attrition. Okay, I got him. Okay, I am doing okay on health, so I shouldn't need to backtrack. And phew, let us out. One sec, everybody. Sorry, somebody asked me a tech question. At this point, we are almost done. There are 4 Metroids left out of our initial starting number of 39. And only 2 major areas to go until we are actually done with this game. Anyway, that was all of my prepared lecture for this game. You guys got any questions? Why is beans? Do you mean those little critters on the walls? Those are actually some sort of fireflies. They're just called glowflies. If I was not immediately slamming into them, they would actually be able to just like... They would just jump off the wall, fly across the corridor, and then... wouldn't really try to slam into this, so they would just grab the opposite wall. Alright, you'll note that the music has changed. No, just in general, I'm afraid I am not an expert in beans. The music has changed because we are very squarely in Omega Metroid territory right now. I actually like this room because it's got these weird little bubble formations that actually look like the rocks we found in Norfair. Considering we've been going just straight down for most of the game, I assume that means we're pretty close to the planet's core. It's kind of a neat callback. Alright, here is our second Omega Metroid. Yeah, basically they just shoot the fireball and then try to slam into you. As long as you use the screw attack to try and ward them off, you're generally safe. Although sometimes, just to be a pain in the butt, they will just keep on trying to ram you until they actually do some damage. Like so. At this point, these guys are completely armored. We have to actually shoot them right in the torso to do any damage. Phew. Okay, there are 2 left. We have 156 missiles. We should be okay as long as I don't go crazy wasting them. One detail I like, aside from the creepy music, there's not a lot of critters in here. One assumes that the Omegas just ate them all. Yeah, even in like the ancillary materials, not a lot is known about the later stages of the Metroid life cycle. I mean, I don't think anyone even knows they exist until Samus finds them. And we're not really here on a research trip, so... Okay, there's another save point, but we need to just go straight down right here. Lava room. This is where having the ability to jump again if you get hit comes in handy. I'm not sure you'd be able to actually get out of these little crevices if you couldn't. Okay, husk. Okay, here's our third Omega. Get out of that corner. Come on, buddy, chill out. Yeah, see what I mean? Sometimes they will just sit and ram you until they decide they're bored. Okay. Okay, not doing great. Only have about 200 health left. Not a lot of opportunity to farm health. Shoot this guy right here, just in case he actually gives us something. Okay, those guys drop large health balls, which restore 20, which is nice. Yeah, if I can... Now, I can just kill those guys with the screw attack, but because you will come out of somersault mode if you fall too far, it's kind of risky. Okay, well, I got some more health. Let's hope that's enough. We'll just have to be very careful. Okay, here it is, the last Omega Metroid. Come on. And because they like to hover so close to you even after you get them to stop, it's kind of hard to actually get an opening without taking damage. Okay, got greedy. Still got 150, we're a little bit okay. Okay, yeah, I've got 100 health left and 60 missiles from our original stock of 250. I know I sound paranoid, but I have in fact run out of missiles in this section before. But after this, we are at least, if not quite safe, we're at least clear to get to the next recharge without anything too nasty. At this point, we're just kind of zigzagging through the section until we get to the next chamber. And once again, basically nothing left alive down here. probably a pretty safe assumption that evolving from an Alpha all the way to an Omega Metroid involves eating a lot of things. Interior of the planet's probably basically dead at this point. As far as we're concerned, though, just kind of a bunch of little twisty passages. I think this is mostly to build up suspense. Like, okay, there's one Metroid left. Where is it? What should we expect? I know, but I'm not going to tell you. Save point, then just go up to the ceiling. At this point, we're stuck in this water, quicksand, whatever. Just gotta kind of carefully screw attack out of it. It's actually completely impossible to climb the balls with the spider ball at that point, so I think the space jump is the only way to get out. Okay, so this is a big old vertical chamber with 3 separate tunnels on the top. I'm going to approach them right to left. First off, thank goodness, recharge point. You can stand on our friends, the flying teeth creatures. I can only assume these are indigestible. And here we have a Chozo statue, which it looks like something went to the effort of destroying. Whatever it has must be important. We'll still back here. Alright, and we're back to the ice beam. If that's not a big enough hint, the next section is not possible without the ice beam. Would anyone like to take a guess why? Lava? Nope. Unfortunately, the ice beam does not affect anything that's not a living creature. Alright. Music's just changed. We have arrived in what kind of looks like a laboratory, just kind of judging from these little vacuum tube sort of looking things. Let's proceed let's proceed very carefully. Still no sign of our last Metroid. Okay, got some sort of egg that we can't get to, and yeah, chat, you'll notice that the Metroid counter just jumped from 1 to 9. We're about to have new friends very, very soon. In the form of newly hatched original Metroids. I remind you once more how you kill these guys. You need the ice beam to actually do anything. Regular missiles won't have an effect otherwise. To kill a regular Metroid, you need to freeze it with the ice beam and then shoot it with 5 missiles. Everybody remember that? Good. I hope it doesn't become relevant again. It shouldn't, right? Because we're in the process of wiping out all of the Metroids. I'll let this guy come closer. And you'll want to try to lure them to someplace where you can actually get a good angle, because if they unfreeze, you'll have to start over from... they'll actually regain all their health. Alright. That was our last newly hatched Metroid. We're back down to 1. And if the change in the music hasn't alerted us, this is our point of no return. Whatever is down there is not going to be very nice. Alright, here she is, everyone, the Metroid Queen. She's got 2 basic attacks. She will shoot those little fireballs at us and then try to bite us. Gonna show you a trick. You shoot her with Metroids when shoot her with missiles when she has her mouth open. She will pause for a second, allowing you to actually climb inside and shoot bombs into her guts. This is actually the safest way to kill her, otherwise she takes about 200 missiles. Now, right... if you start running low on health, that little passage right there will actually take you back to the recharge point. However, she will completely regain all of her health, so... unfortunately, you really need to do this in one go. I tried a couple times to kill her just with missiles, and it didn't work. Ouch. Okay, so she's getting faster. We're wearing her down. Can I get in there? Nope. Okay, we got her. Thank goodness. Down to 1 health, 1 energy tank left. Alright. With that, the Metroid counter just hit 0. Mission successful, chat. Wait, here's that weird little egg thing. Wait, that. Oh, wait. Oh, hey, Chad. I think it thinks we're its mom. Yeah, here is the last Metroid in existence. It can't hurt us. We actually need it to get through these little crystalline structures. Babby, yes. I actually think it's quite cute. At this point, we are just taking a chill little walk up to the surface. Gotta climb through basically the entire planet to get back to the gunship. Stars. Okay, it's not immediately obvious, but to get out of here we need to just climb up the path to the side. You want to come with us, little guy? Alright. I'm sure Samus is going to be a great parent. Alright, here's our ship. And time! Alright, that was Metroid 2. If I'm being honest, I mean, it's not a bad game, but the way the view is just so close to you and how big the sprites are, it makes it kind of a pain in the butt to play. I think this is generally considered to be the worst entry in the franchise. But Babby didn't get the ship. That's okay, it's in the ship. It came home with us, I promise. Ironically, even if this is the worst entry in the series, small spoiler alert, this is actually the single most important game in the series from a plot standpoint. The consequences of what we just did during our mission on SR3A8 are going to affect every single other game in this series. Which we will see almost immediately next week. In the meantime, we get to enjoy more of Samus's weird running pose. Babby form in the glow pod. If you're referring to what I think you're referring to, yes, that is in fact the Babby. Presented by Nintendo. Alright, this is the point where we're gonna get our time. 2:42. Alright, we still beat our target time of 3 hours. So, yay. If you guys wanted some low-resolution fan service, here you go. Definitely not great compared to my 214, but what is wrong with her crotch? Well, you know, she's got a thigh gap. That's very important, right? Honestly, that might just be the filter I've got on. Thigh gap or a black hole. Could be either. Could be both. I mean, that's why she's such a good bounty hunter. Eventually she gets bored and just sucks everything into her black hole in the crotch. Alright, anyway, that was Metroid 2, both the worst and the best game in the series. Friday, I'm going to be doing some more Psychonauts 2. Gonna keep doing that until either we've completed it or until I need to start doubling up. Yeah. Ooh, alien similarities. I noted originally that every game in this series has something it takes from its respective film in the Alien series. In this case, it would be Aliens. Same kind of general plot structure, like we're on the Metroid homeworld. I think, what is the planet in Aliens? LV-42. That's the planet where they originally stumbled upon the xenomorph eggs. we've got kind of the same general convoluted uh, life form structure, developmental structure. I'm blanking out on the term. We've got a multi-stage life cycle very similar to the xenomorphs. And then, of course, we've got a Queen Metroid and a Queen Xenomorph, both of whom are responsible for making more of their respective critters. And honestly, it probably would have gone better if we just nuked the planet from orbit, but hey, Samus likes to get up and close and personal. Yeah, next week is going to be Super Metroid, which, quite honestly, is the best game in the series, so I hope everyone will be there to experience it for me. I will get this uploaded to YouTube at some point with some extra material. But yeah, that was Metroid 2. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and I will see you next mission. Bye-bye.